Well, hello there. This is the huggable, lovable, and fortunately enough, untouchable Big Bear StarCraft 2, bringing you my 9th commentated game. This is actually a pretty big game. Actually, I think this is my 10th one. Scratch that. I think this is my 10th game. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is an epic, epic TVT. People really recommended it to me, saying it's a really, really good game. It's rather long. It's a 33-minute game, so obviously there's no kind of cheese that wins the game. It is just solid macro. And I actually do not know who wins. I have not seen this before. And that is like with most of my videos though. I do not watch them before. I try to actually just cast them as I have never seen them before, because it simply just kind of shows that, I mean, like, I can just kind of cast about what I see, and it's just about what, like, I'm feeling, and there's really no time to think about it. You just kind of talk, and you don't really think about what you're saying. You just kind of say it, and you just kind of do it, and I think that that's really how commentating should be. But then again, maybe there are much better casters than I am who do view all of their videos beforehand. I do not know. I am not one of those people though. Anyways, you can see Happy is opening up with a Rax first build. Now this may not look like much, but the fact that Strelock did actually put his Rax closer to his ramp suggests that he's going to be a little bit more aggressive with it, as opposed to Happy, who puts it further back. And he's simply putting it further back just because he wants to make sure that no sort of two marine pressure will be able to pick it off if they just sit at the bottom of the ramp, maybe like standing here. They can pick it off here, or if he puts like a single marine here, they can pick it off here. And you can see that Imba is putting it really close to the ramp, which suggests that he's going to probably be wanting to do some sort of 2 racks pressure, or some sort of fast marauder, or some sort of like maybe 2 or 3 marines. We shall see where this rally point goes. If you see the rally point actually set into the opponent's base, obviously that suggests that he will be wanting to do some sort of really aggressive Rax play, and actually getting a first supply depot at the wall. And he is setting his rally point for at the bottom of the ramp, and the only reason why he does this is so that when this SCV does come to here, he will be denied by this marine, because the marine with a little bit of micro can actually kill an SCV before they get up into the base. And you were about to see it here, and Happy knows this, so he doesn't even try. I think Strelock will still try to get into the base, we'll see. And there it is. See, as you can see, Happy is now ahead 1 probe or 1 SCV, excuse me. That's right, we're not doing Protoss versus Protoss here. We are doing Terran versus Terran. And Imba Strelock is out for blood, because he is going to run right to the Zelnaga tower to kill the probe. He doesn't actually know that the SCV... Jesus! He does not know that the SCV... Sorry, not probe. He does not know that the SCV is there, and Happy very smartly actually evacuating it. He can really just kind of put this SCV back over here and get him back on the mineral patches, but he may have some sort of fast, aggressive tactics for that SCV. And little known fact is that Happy is actually #1 Grandmaster on the European ladder, and he does have an 80% win rate. I think this Reaper is going to die. And wow, see, it's just little things like that. And now he's actually going to go and kill this marine, but the marine does scurry on out of there. I do not know why Happy is still keeping an SCV back, but he is, and actually he's just using it to control these Zelnaga watchtowers. And like I was saying before, Happy is such a good player. You know, he really enjoys actually just kind of playing TVT. He's actually said that that is one of his more favorite matchups, just because it is so creative and so innovative. Actually opting for, instead of going for a fast expansion like Strelock, he is instead going for siege tanks with siege tech. I am hoping that he's going to be researching it soon here. We shall see. He might be going for some sort of drop play with... Yeah, I think he's going to be going for drop play with his marines. He knows that he is currently ahead. He has killed the Reaper, so there's no sort of early pressure, and with that he's deciding to expand. Strelock being actually kind of ballsy when he did build the command center here, because if Happy had done some sort of 2 racks, 3 racks pressure, he would have actually been forced to cancel the command center. And if you do go for a fast expand... Oh, Happy not paying attention to his drone. He may have been able to run it away there. And this is a cute little push here. I do not know how effective it will be, considering that there is a siege tank on the field, and Happy has opted not yet to expand. And you can see actually just sending the SCV to scout. It is worth losing an SCV to see what your opponent is going. And really, you don't actually have to see inside of the base to know what your opponent is doing. He knows that there is siege tanks, so he knows that there's going to be siege tech, and it's highly unlikely that Happy will actually switch out of this tech and go for something else crazy. So now, being Strelock, you can react accordingly, knowing that there are going to be a siege tank, marine kind of a mix out on the field. And Imba Strelock is not really doing anything really. He's just kind of content on macroing up like a boss, kind of just trying to hold on to his early SCV count, which he does in fact have. If we go to the unit counting station, we can see 29 SCVs for Strelock, while his yellow counterpart only has 25. Now 30, and the longer that Happy actually chooses to keep this command center inside of his base, the more, or the further behind he will actually be. Really, Happy really needs to put some pressure on here pretty soon, or he is going to be really far behind, and it'll be a really difficult slope for him to actually catch back up. You can see Smartly Out has a Viking out. He opted to get a Viking instead of a medevac, actually getting a second Viking, and he's just going to do that because I think because he knows that his opponent is going Hellion Marine Siege Tank. I don't think he knows that there's Siege Tanks out in the field yet, but he knows that with Hellion and Marines, a drop is highly likely. So if he does get out 2 Vikings, he can actually pick off the dropship. And you can see here comes a dropship. And if Happy does in fact scout this drop, he will kill it. And this is going to be the worst spot for the drop to be scouted, because with 2 Vikings out, you will be able to in fact kill that medevac before the medevac actually drops in the base. You can see that he's actually loading up 4 Hellions. If he does not scout this, it'll be a huge amount of damage. Actually, yeah, it still will be, because if Imba Strelock does decide to drop it on top of the SCVs, the damage from the siege tanks will actually splash onto them, and you can see dropping them right out of range of the siege tanks. He's going to run these into the base. The Vikings are going to try to find the medevac, but it will not be enough. He's going to get a lot of SCV kills. Actually, just gets 2. Gets a marine kill, and is he going to get this out? No, he will not. The Vikings deterring the medevac from coming back to actually picking up the Hellion. You can see that there are still 2 marines on these Zelnaga towers. This is extremely important. You really want to be keeping any sort of scouting you can, and when you get such a wide range, you can see here's the range. It's kind of insane. There's really nothing that Happy can do, because there's no longer any destructible rocks in the back of your base to destroy. Before they patched this map, there were actually destructible rocks here, and you can destroy those and acquire a 6th third, but now they are down here, and really all that leaves for Happy is some sort of drop play. That's really all he can do to prevent or to surprise the other Terran player. Strelock taking an aggressive position in the middle of the map. This is really nice, because you always want to get your siege tanks up before the opponent can get his siege tanks up, because that just simply means that he will not be able to siege up his tanks. And I'm thinking we might be seeing a Viking war here. Whoever can produce more Vikings, because little known fact is that siege tanks actually cannot see at the edge of their range, and there is actually an extra range that siege tanks do not have vision for. So if you can have some sort of air unit sitting at the edge of that range, they will be able to outrange the other units that do not have vision of it. So you can use the Vikings to actually fight for air dominance, which will actually mean you are fighting to outrange each other's siege tanks. Happy did start his siege tanks a little bit earlier, so he will have a higher number of siege tanks, as opposed to Imba only having 3 siege tanks, it looks like. Happy will have 5. He's going to come over here, and this will be scouted by this Zelnaga tower that I was talking about, and he's probably going to siege up right about here at this choke. If he doesn't siege up, it'll really spell disaster. As you can see, the Vikings by Happy are actually going to win out. If I was Happy, I'd be bringing maybe 1 or 2 SCVs to repair this injured Viking, as opposed to just trying to skirt it around. And this is what I'm talking about. You can see that Strelock, actually, if any units do go through this range right about here, they will not be shot at, because these siege tanks do not have vision. You can see actually a counter drop. This is going to be really nice. Whenever Happy does decide to push out, he will have to deal with a drop that is coming in the back of his base. This drop might actually die before all of the Marines get out. Only 3 Marines get out, but that's still going to be 3 or 4 SCV kills. And Happy is not paying attention. 2 Marines isn't 3. Okay, he does clean that up rather nicely. Only loses 2 or 3 SCVs in exchange for a full medevac. You can see actually the push is coming out here. Vikings are losing. He's actually smartly picking up the Marines inside of his medevacs, dropping them on top of the siege tanks. That renders them ineffective, and you can see that actually the scan does compensate for his lack of Vikings, and this one Viking is going to pick off both of these Vikings, but both of the siege tanks go down. I really would have recommended him unsieging his siege tanks, and now all he has is Marines and a single siege tank with a constant scan. He's really going to have to be careful with these 3 siege tanks, because once he tries to unsiege them, they will die. They are pretty much doomed to inevitability, because once Once Strelock actually does choose to unsiege his tank and move his tank forward, he will be able to outrange these 3 siege tanks here, and they are doomed to die eventually. You can see he's trying desperately to reinforce with more units. I do not know how effective this will be, however, because these 3 siege tanks will die, and that'll be a huge loss to Happy. Smartly just keeping them sieged, contently just letting them sit there. And that's what I'm talking about. You can see he actually does choose to scan, but I don't know how effective a scan will be because it will not last as long. If I was Strelock, I would consider just dropping my Vikings right here because there's really nothing that Happy could do to stop that. And you can see he's pushing out some more, and he's trying to use the Zelnaga tower as some sort of deference. Imba Strelock actually going for a relatively, actually a on-time third. I thought this game is going faster than I expected. Getting a planetary fortress is Happy, and what he is doing, he is only getting a single gas. I would be going for double gas considering that late game Terran does cost an extremely high amount of gas. You can see that he is constantly macroing. His macro could be a little bit better, maybe one